Hi everyone, this is our weekly Subspace desktop meeting. Again, as usual, we will be presenting you the changes, the new issues, closed issues, and new PRs and closed PRs. We don't have a demo prepared at the moment because the latest changes are not stable, so it's not working, but we are really close, and soon we believe we will be releasing 0.5. So let's continue from the new issues. We have only one new issue. The other new ones are closed. Serge, do you want to talk about that?
Um, yeah, it's actually, you can see it on the screenshot. There is currently a problem with fetching count of peers of the node, and it's not reflected. Yeah, I haven't had a chance to investigate yet. I created an issue, so we don't forget about it, and I will work on this next.
Yeah. To elaborate a bit more, like Node itself is working and being able to connect with other peers. It's just that we can't relay that information to front end. So
Yeah, just a number.
yeah, it's not a big issue. Okay.
This is
Any questions?
affecting the 0.5 branch as well.
Sorry, Jeremiah.
This is affecting the 0.5 branch as well.
Right now,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
For the closed ones, we have like let me sort by recently updated. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. One of them is a pretty old bug, I can
Can you zoom
say.
in just a little bit, Özkan, please?
Sorry?
Can you zoom in just a little bit, please?
Sure. How about that? So the computer was giving really funny messages for the show string. It got fixed on its own when we updated Tauri, I believe. So we didn't do anything specific, but it's resolved. And some of our users mentioned this. Also, it was in my backlog. Also, Nazar mentioned that we were generating a new name for node every time we started the node because it's established in the monorepo. So we changed that, and now whenever you restart the application, or even if you install a new version of the application, you will still have the same node name. So this node name is stored in the config file and being read from the config file. So whenever a node needs to be started, it will use that specific name that generated for you as a static name. So I have one more thing to say about this issue. So the first plan was to even provide an extra option to users to choose their own node name as they can in the CLI, but that would just complicate the UI, and like for the more novice users, it could be confusing. That's why I went with generating a node name in the backend and then just using that from then on. If we want to have the option to provide users to choose their own node name, we can do that. But I couldn't fit this in UI, so that's why I abandoned that idea. Any comments or
It doesn't
questions?
need to be that complicated. You just make it so that the node name, when you click it, it just becomes an editable form field, and then you can just change the name, and then it just persists that. So you don't need to create like a screen or like a form to do it. You can, I mean, just like in lots of, like in, I don't know how many different, like Notion all the time, you just like click on the
Yeah.
title and you can just, it just becomes editable at that point.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
very simple thing to do.
I'm afraid it's not that simple because node name has to be unique, right? So if there is already a
No.
node with this name, no?
No, it doesn't need to be unique. I checked that in the telemetry. There are multiple users, for example, using the name Subspace only, so it doesn't need to be
Oh,
unique. but it would help if it be unique.
It's overcomplicating things. Don't force it to be unique.
Okay.
Leave it the same way.
Okay, so in that version though, it's unique. So the way we generate it from the backend, it's like 99.999999% it will be unique. Okay, so I can create another issue or append to this one and reopen that to add the feature you mentioned, Jeremiah.
Do you understand how that would work, Özkan?
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's actually more of a Surge task than for you. That's just a simple front end task.
Okay.
Yeah, assign to me.
The only complicated thing for the backend part is the node name is given to the node when it's initialized. So when the node is currently running, I don't know if it's possible to change the name of it.
Can you just update the config and restart the application?
Instead of restarting the application, like when the user edits the name, we can in the backend restart the node with the given name. That could be a solution.
There we go.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is low priority.
Okay.
So this should not really be started until we have compatibility with 0.5 in that release.
Should I assign Surge to it or me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Surge.
Okay. So Rio. All right, here we go. Any other additional comments to this? Okay. This is again one of the closed issues. So now we can receive the peers and block information from node. Surge, again, you did this. So if you want to take away, please do.
Yeah, so previously we had two connections, one connection to the local node and the second one to public RPC. And the PR that closed this issue, in that PR, I removed connection to public RPC completely, and we replaced those queries with queries to local node. So we removed segments, we removed everything related to blockchain size, because it's no longer relevant due to changes to multi-replica, right? And yeah, and so now we are, instead of segments, we show the number of synced blocks.
No. We decided, like in the engineering meeting, we will just show a percentage in the program.
It shows both percentage and the number of blocks.
Okay, that's not what I recall, but okay.
So when it says, does it say like number of blocks in the UI? Or
yes,
just a count?
Like total blocks and blocks, number of blocks synced. Same
Okay.
as we have on the dashboard. So we have like plotting progress page, and we have a dashboard page. And on the dashboard, we show this spinner and the total number of blocks and blocks synced. So
okay.
it's same.
Yeah. All right. Moving on, if there's no questions. So this was really painful, actually. We were unable to create a keyring in this format in the application in production mode only. So in development mode, it worked. In production, it doesn't. I opened an issue at Polkadot API. They tried to help. It didn't work out. Since it was not related to Polkadot in the beginning, I then opened Surge, I believe, then opened an issue on Tauri. And then they tried to help. And finally, it worked. This took like 2 or 3 days. Now we can generate this keyring in this format in the production as well. The reason was there is a CSP which is restricting the functionality of the application, and it is applied only in production mode. That's why it was working in development mode and it wasn't working in production mode. So we had to add specific values or keys to that CSP thing, so that now it doesn't restrict that functionality, and we can initialize WASM in the tower side, and it successfully creates a keyring in SR25519 format. Okay, that's all for this one.
Did this get into any pre-releases? Does that mean that there could have been users who didn't create correct keys that were farming?
Yes, for the 0.4 versions, we fixed the. Sorry, let me start from the beginning. We weren't using this format until 0.4.7, I believe. So this was not an issue until then. And with that release and further ones, yes, this is an issue. That's why it failed in the production mode, and that's why the 0.4.10 did not become stable, solely because of this issue.
So this is related to the same issue that we were discussing last week. This is just the fix to that, or is this a separate issue?
This is a separate issue. Previously, we were using another format. We changed that to SR25519 to be compatible with the Polkadot wallet, which is fixed. But then in production mode, we were unable to generate the keyring in this format. This is the bug of that. And
By that point, we had already told all the users to revert to 0.3.
Yeah. So for the users, there is no issue.
Assuming that they're downloading the correct release.
Yeah, true. So the latest table is 0.3.3, and this is fine. All right. Other than that, so we put logging mechanism to our application, and we were using the default choices of Tower team, and their default choice is not that conventional for Linux and Windows. It is still an open issue on the Tower side, so they are having a discussion among themselves. But we went with the conventional ones. So now, okay, actually, let me show the PR. Right now, we are using root folder library logs for macOS. This was like that. It is not changed. The change part is Linux and Windows. Now for Windows, it's under, for Linux, it's under .local share, the name of our bundle, which is com.subspace.desktop, and under logs. And for Windows, it's C users, your username, app data local, again, com.subspace.desktop, and logs. So now logs are stored in these conventional folders. So these are all the issues that are being closed. Any questions about them? Okay. We can move to the closed PRs. We can start with this one. Okay, let's open them and go through them very quickly. Search.
Yeah, so this was a refactoring mostly. I tried to update dependencies, and there was some mess in the log file. So then I started fixing one issue after another, and yeah, it's more like a house cleaning stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, we can no functionality added here.
This is the PR that grants persistent node names. We don't need to dive into that. We just covered that in the issue. Again, I believe front-end refactoring. or
So the refactoring PR created an error. There was a bug. So this PR fixes the bug of, from refactoring.
yeah. This is very helpful. Again, submitted by search for front-end ESLint.
Yeah, for some reason there were some ESLint rules disabled, like default recommended rules. So I turned them on back and yeah, adjusted code base a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for that. Oh, I always wanted to ask but forgot. What is this 102 stands for in your PRs?
So when you go to the issue, there is a button, create a branch to
Oh,
fix an issue. So it's like, it's a number of issue.
number of the issue. Okay. So receive peers and block information from node. Again, we covered that in the issues. You want to say anything about that, search? Or
No, it was covered.
okay,
Unless you have questions.
I believe not. All right. Again, we covered that conventional block folders, and this is for fixing the SR25519. But I want to add some other things for that. So I believe it's okay here. So as under security, we have CSP, and this is actually like disabling most of the functionality that we are not using, and thus making our application much more secure. For example, for loading an image, we are rejecting any image source other than our repository itself. And for scripting, we had to enable WASM unsafe eval for that, the SR25519 bug to be fixed. But the point I'm making is we dived into this CSP thing much more, and now our application is much more secure than before because there were many insecure things in here that we are not using, enabling possibilities for attack vectors. I just remove them and be sure that application is still working. And again, application is much more secure now, which is a good thing. And that's all for issues and PRs. The open ones are remained for the PRs. This is making our application compatible with the most up-to-date monorepo. I don't need to dive into changes, but everything worked great except one thing, which is right now when Farmer tries to connect to Node, Node doesn't respond well, and that's why the connection is not established. When we fix that issue, this PR will be merged, and then we will be full compatible with the monorepo. And one more thing is adding a restart mechanism for Farmer. Very, very, very rarely, Farmer crashes. So, for example, something bad happened on the node side, and Farmer waited for node for a very long time, and then shut itself. That can be one of the reasons. In that case, and every other case that Farmer can crash, now we are listening for that, and if a crash happened on the Farmer, we are just starting another farming instance with the same parameters. So user doesn't have to reselect a setup plot page or anything like that. We are just restarting the Farmer. That PR is for that, but it is waiting for the current PR to be merged, which is monorepo dependencies. And then it will be a real PR. Right now it's draft. The code is ready. That's all I believe for everything. Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah, so this is like a nice to have feature. This is like a very rare bug that we see. It's like an optimization.
Nazar said it's now a high priority issue and should be there before we release 0.5. That's why I made it high priority.
How often is it occurring?
Sorry?
How often is it occurring?
Not much to my knowledge, like from the community or my testings, not much. But you know Nazar, he likes to be secure, and this is making the farming process really more secure than ever. That's why.
Justin, has there been any complaints on support about this issue?
I had a user the other day, or actually yesterday, who had mentioned he was running 3.3 for a couple weeks. I had him reinstall the application just to play it safe, and he was fine after that. So he may have been affected, but I haven't seen it. It's not. I don't think I've seen it too common prior to that.
Okay.
In addition to that, users may be affected from this, but not know that, because back then we hadn't have logging, and if this was the issue for like they were unable to farm a block, maybe that was the issue. We don't know, they don't know. So yeah.
Is this complete? It's just waiting on the other PR to be merged? There's no
Exactly.
additional work to be done here?
Exactly, because this relies on that other PR, it cannot merge on its own. That's why.
Okay. Can you go back to the other PR, Özkan?
Sure. You want me to open the code or?
No. So what is your plan? What's left to finish this? What do you need help with, and when do you think this will be ready to merge or start testing?
I already pinged Nazar about the bug, so when he sees it, I believe he will respond as soon as possible. From our testing with Search, we know that this issue does not exist on main, so we know that this issue, the bug is introduced with this PR, and we think that the changes to the node that we made are the guilty ones. So we are just waiting a response from Nazar. I played with the code around a bit myself, but did not help for solving the issue. I believe tonight it will be solved. Hopefully, I cannot guarantee it, but hopefully it will be solved tonight. And then this will be merged, and right after that, the draft PR will be merged. I don't think it will create any issue, and then we will have a pre-release of 0.5. That's the plan.
Okay. Have we had a pre-release of 0.5 before?
We had, but just for testing purposes, and we deleted immediately after that.
And that was where this bug came from that testing?
No. That was like 1 or 2 weeks ago. This bug came up just today.
Okay.
When I tried to update the dependencies.
Okay. So the most important priority right now is to get 0.5 stable and released, and well, tested and then released in preparation for everything that's happening. So I need you to really focus on resolving this issue. So you can also ping Ivan. He might be able to help you debug it. But I don't want it to be blocked by Nazar right now. He's got a lot of stuff going on.
Okay.
And we need to resolve it as soon as possible. And we need to make sure that there's not any other issues as well. So I would hate to spend 2 days debugging this just to find out that we have another bug after the fact that we need to spend another 2 days resolving. So if there's any additional testing or anything that we can do while we're waiting on this, we need to do that now. And Ivan will continue to push changes, every single day to the mono repo. And we just, at some point we need to stop accepting those changes, or else we'll never get caught up. We'll be in this perpetual cycle where we're constantly trying to catch up to the latest mono repo, but we never release anything because mono repo will never stop changing. So if it's anything that is not a breaking change to the farming process, then just ignore it and just focus on getting this release out. And I guess the other way to think about that is ignore everything you see from the mono repo unless you're specifically instructed otherwise from like Nazar or Avant that it's not.
Yeah, that was the strategy and it's working well. So Nazar is pinging me like, this is a breaking change. Özgün, you should reflect that on the Subspace desktop, and we are following that strategy already.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is probably tomorrow we'll be able to start testing this.
Yeah, that's my plan, but like I cannot guarantee it. Hopefully, yeah.
Okay.
Beside that, like I know like we are putting much effort on getting 0.5 out, and that's why we also think with Search, like we abandoned every issue that is not
Yep.
high in priority, and we are just trying to make 0.5 stable, as you mentioned. So
Right.
everything is going well. No worries.
Right. We'll just continue to do that and just ignore everything else until this is done. And then we'll just come back to the backlog when we get this released.
Yeah.
And that means that once we get to the testing point as well, like we can share the load on testing this. Okay. So it's not all on Justin's shoulders to test this in a cross-platform setting, but we can, you know, get everybody testing this, get it out to the team as soon as possible for testing as well. We just don't want to release it to the user base for testing until we verified it.
Yeah, one note on that, like I know there's lots on Justin's plate, and I know we haven't started any automatic testing. That's why Justin's testing it takes too much time, and it's Justin's not to blame for that. I also going to propose like maybe I can share some of this testing until till we have some automatic testing going on, because it's like I submit a release to Justin, wait for him for like 3 or 4 days, and then it's like it can be faster for sure.
Yeah. Which platforms can you test on, Özgün?
I can test on Mac. I was only testing in Mac for dev mode, and now I think I will start testing also in production mode. I can test on Linux, but not with great performance. My machine for Mac doesn't have great connection. It's like 200 or 300 kilobytes for downloading, which is painful. Yeah. So it's not impossible, but it will take a long time.
Okay, so you can focus on Mac, and yeah, that's a really critical thing, not to test it in dev mode, as we're seeing there's issues that are hidden in dev mode that we don't see in that we only appear in production mode. So, okay, so if you can focus on testing it on Mac on production mode, then I think, Justin, that can free you up just for testing Windows, right? You have the ability to do that.
Correct. Yep.
And Serge, you have a Linux machine, right? No?
No, I have Mac.
Oh, okay.
I do have a the desktop that you sent me, Jeremiah, is running Linux. So I can test it on there as well.
Okay. Well, I was hoping that we could have like a third person who could do it on Linux.
Maybe I could shoot it over to maybe like Avant or something.
Is Yvonne running Linux?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
then
think
definitely yes. Let's share the load. So that'll be the plan. Yvonne tested on Linux in production mode. You tested on Windows. Justin, Özgün, you tested on Mac.
Okay.
Since we get this out.
Sounds good.
Great.
Great.
Okay, sounds great, guys.
Yeah, that's all from me. You want to check the board or no, Jeremiah? Anything you want to?
Let's wait until we get all this resolved, and then we can talk about the board. I think it's clear what the next steps are.
Yeah. All right then. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next week.